What is up, everybody? I'm your Legendary Commander, and welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3. This video is going to be a review of the early access version of Baldur's Gate 3. So no, this is not the complete game. So I'm going to answer your primary question right off the bat, and that is this game worth the $60 to buy it in early access right now? The answer to that question is it depends. What type of person are you? Do you want to buy a game that is complete? If so, this is not the game for you at the moment. You need to wait for this game to fully come out and then pick it up, or at least wait till it gets much closer to actual release and pick it up then. When will that be? Well, as of this moment, I don't think any of us know. Or you're the kind of person that doesn't necessarily need the game to be finished. Well, this game might be for you. If you just want to get the content right now and be on it every second new content comes out, this might be a game for you. It could be whether you're a content creator or you just want to be a normal person that plays the game and just want to be in it that much. Well, if you are that person, this game is probably for you. Is it a little pricey? Yeah, $60 for a game that's this early access, it's pricey. But it does have a reputable studio behind it, so I don't necessarily blame them. The next thing you need to ask, though, is can you deal with bugs? And no, not the one on the screen. If you can handle glitches and crashes during your game, then absolutely pick this game up. If you can't, and it's going to frustrate you, make you throw your computer, don't pick this game up. Not yet. Wait for this stuff to finish up so there'll be far less of those. So that's your answer. Now, let's talk about the actual game. Gameplay wise, this game does already have a lot to offer. It does reminisce D&D very, very much. There are some changes made, which we will go over as this video goes on. Some are for the better. Some might also be for the better, but I don't personally see them as better. Some like for the worse. For example, let's look at the magic system. A lot of spells can't seem to be upcasted. Some can, some can't. Maybe this is in the works and I just don't see it yet. But for example, my Witch Bolt spell can't be upcasted, which is my favorite spell. There's also the change to the Witch Bolt where it doesn't actually say, and maybe it just has been forgotten to say, that it's supposed to chain from one target to another after it kills its target. However, on the note of upcasting, other spells can be upcasted. Magic Missile can be, and so can Cure Wounds. So that's something. Overall, the magic does feel complete. There's just a few things that I would nitpick at, and that's probably out of preference. And when I say complete, I mean complete up to the level that you can reach. For example, I couldn't cast Fireball, so that solution isn't available yet. But for what's there, it does feel complete. Maybe a little more description on a few things too. The only other argument I'd make is the spell ranges. 18 meters for every single spell doesn't seem right. Some spells should be shorter range while other spells should be longer range. If you want to shoot a spell super long range, that's what Spell Sniper is for. I think that's the name of it in D&D, I forget. I don't play a lot of wizards! Now let's talk about weapons. Weapons, they really seem to have gotten it right most. There is some cool stuff with the weapons. All the swords and axes do the same damage they would normally. They are martial, non-martial weapons. They've got that 100% down. But then you have your magic items, and what's really neat about these magic items is they can do +1, +2 damage, and you pick it up and you put it on. And the same goes for armor. The +1s and +2s are on there, and then if you do the reading, you'll find out that it actually might even be punishing you for putting on that pair of gloves or wielding that sword. I put on a pair of gloves that I thought that was going to help me, but my character didn't have the mark, and since I didn't have the mark, the gloves were actually of no effect to me. I found a club that would send me into a crazy rage if I didn't kill things. It had benefits, but it didn't do me any good, and unfortunately it also made it to where I wouldn't use the club. The best part of it all is there's really no rule to what weapons you could use. If you want to use the very basic weapon they gave you in the start, it's just as good. Well, not exactly just as good, but it can get you through the game. There is no rule saying that a short sword and shield combo is any worse than a long sword or a great sword. If you want to carry a long sword, carry a long sword. If you want to carry a short sword, carry that short sword. If you want to run around and swing a quarterstaff, you can swing a... Now, I do take issue with some weapons, and that is their limited range. Again, they've done the same thing they did to magic. They neutered it all currently, and it's only allowed to shoot 18 meters. A longbow, a short bow, a heavy crossbow, a light crossbow all shoot the same distance. That doesn't feel right to me. If I pick up a longbow, I should have a lot more range. Be it I may be at disadvantage, but I should have more range. The only other complaint I'd also have is my inability to stand still and fire. With the bow, sometimes the character will run up to try and fire with their bow instead of holding their position. So not necessarily a weapons pick, but a pick at the game for not allowing me to hold position and fire at disadvantage, for example. Speaking of disadvantage, let's talk about dice rolls for a minute. It seems that the dice rolls in the game are just a percentage base, and when you attack, you don't see a dice roll, which sometimes makes you feel like, well, your miss was bullshit. Every time I attack, I'd much rather see a dice roll. I don't see that, I just get a percentage, and then I get told if I miss or hit. Now I can make the estimates and go, oh, well, that's why, when it says 55%, but when it says 75% and I miss 3 times in a row, that starts to make me feel like the game is cheating. Give me a dice roll, make me feel like at least I'm looking at the die that, you know, screwed me 3 times, and be like, alright, I'm getting a new set of dice. I actually use regular dice when I play D&D. I refuse to use online dice rollers, just so I don't feel like I get cheated. Now let's talk about character creation since it's on the screen. Character creation is alright. It's not great. It's no Skyrim. I know Skyrim isn't perfect with its character creator, but you know, all the slider bars and stuff to change your character's face and everything. This game doesn't have it at the moment, and hopefully it will. In the meantime, there are also plenty of other limitations. You are limited to not being able to play a paladin, a barbarian, a druid, and several other character types. You'll see it throughout this video. I will click every single one of these and show you. You're not going to have every race either. That's another thing. Most races aren't currently available. Maybe they will. Like an orc, that's not available, for example. Or even a half-orc isn't available. If a half-orc does exist, I must have missed it. Other races like Goliaths, they also don't exist. But there's still a lot of selection here. So you can pick a few interesting characters. What am I talking about? We all want to play a red Tiefling. Or actually, in my case, I played a yellowish orange one. Skills and everything, they seem pretty much similar to standard D&D. Now, it does feel like there is some stuff, like some of the newer stuff that comes into D&D that is missing these days. But it's not enough to worry about. So, it may not be perfect to your D&D gameplay that you normally play, but it will get you very similarly there. They also did not do 4d6 drop the lowest rolls, and unfortunately that means you have to do a point buy system. I personally don't like the point buy system. I much prefer a 4d6 drop the lowest. And if you're worried about people making super powerful characters, well, what you can also do to prevent that is every time they make a character, they only get to roll once. Otherwise, they have to go out and rebuild their character. Again, some skills and things may not be in the game as of right now, but most of it still seems to be here, so playing these characters will feel very complete. One other problem I had with the point buy system was there was an inconsistency with certain skills. When I would pump one skill up to 14 or over 14, it took 2 points. And then meanwhile, another skill didn't, but it would take 2 points at 15. So it was really weird. There was no explanation. So another thing that could be better explained maybe, and that's arguably one of the next things, is the game could better explain. This game can be brutal in some cases, and it doesn't explain. It definitely tries to explain, and there's a lot of stuff that it tells you, but it could still use a better tutorial and maybe some more descriptive tooltips. Now, on that note of it brutalizing you, well, this game can be very, very hard, and if you don't know what you're doing, it will murder you. So, take that with knowledge going into the game. It can be difficult until you get good at it, which I personally love because I like a hard game. When you get good, you get really good. The combat truly is excellent, and the level up system that comes along with it is also really cool too. Very easy, does everything for you, but when it gets back into the combat, after you've leveled up a few times, combat does ease up a lot as your characters aren't so squishy. By the way, a lot means like maybe 2 or 3 levels. But even without leveling up, you can use high ground to your advantage where the enemy has lower ground. They take disadvantage on attacks. Meanwhile, you can shove people off high places and push them down, but they'll take damage from the fall. And then again, they're back at disadvantage on an attack. You can jump behind enemies and stab them. Opportunities of attack, stealth attacking before battle. The combat system for the most part does seem to be pretty fleshed out. However, now we need to go talk about the AI, because sometimes the AI is pretty dumb, and it also utilizes stealth to make them really dumb. I have seen, first off, AI that did not even engage their melee units, and they're just holding their ground in front of their archers and not coming at me. Had they come at me, the battle may have gone differently. But they instead held their ground, and it made easy to pick them off and then come up and kill the melee units after. However, that's just the light side of how dumb the AI can be sometimes. If you really want to abuse the AI, hide or stealth, whichever you might refer to it as, can actually be even more detrimental to how dumb the AI can be. I was able to, from a rooftop, hit the hide feature after firing an arrow and then hide behind the edge of a roof. He could see me at the top of the roof, and he knew to throw things at me. And then, in theory, if I wouldn't hit the hide button, he could see me if I tucked behind the roof. However, because I hid and then tucked behind the edge of the roof, he no longer could see me. He didn't try and walk around to get a better point of view or anything like that to see if he could set up that vantage point again. No, he just stood there and let me run up again and shoot him with an arrow, and then hide again, and then run up with an arrow, shoot him, and then hide again. I was able to take on 3 ogres and wipe out 90% of their health without my friend's help, with all my other characters dead other than my friend's one character, which ran back to go get revivifies, which, by the way, was also not in turn base when I was in combat, but was allowed to free run. So it is an interesting thing when you're not in combat that you can run around as well at any pace you would like, which means you can literally hold your enemies at bay as long as the unit that's in stealth or that is freely out there does not engage with those enemies, or another enemy for that matter, can actually just run around and do what they want. I could, in theory, use a single character to distract all the enemies and then just stand there while the other character slips behind them. Something that might actually need to be fixed. And the last thing, and funny how I waited to the end of the video to make this part, the campaign. Is it long? Well, no, not at the moment, and it probably will be, but as of this moment, the campaign feels very, 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 very short when you get down to it. It did take me about 20 hours to get there, but that was also while playing a multiplayer session with my friend for at least 4 hours for 2 separate occasions, and also fumbling through the beginning of the game. There was also a lot of side quests, and we wandered a little bit. I wandered a little bit. In the end, I reached near the end of the game only for my game to break and not allow me to progress. So the bugs kicked in and kinda ended that game for me. My argument right now is the campaign seems very basic, and you know, that might also be for the fact that this is just the beginning of the game. It felt like a D&D pen and paper game that your DM whipped up on the spot to give you a mission, to do something because his grander plan wasn't ready yet, and yet he wanted to give you something because it was D&D night. It's kind of what it felt like, but at the same time, it was still a decent little bit of gameplay. The characters' story arcs and stuff along those lines is very good, and I see a lot of potential for all this. In the end, I enjoy this game. It's a good game, and I can't say much more about it. Well, I could say a lot more, but this review would be an hour or 2 hours long, and you could be playing 2 hours of the game right now. So, if you thought you liked what I said and you want to get into it, go hit up the game. Go buy it in $60, or wait for it to go on sale and pick it up then. Or hold on to your money, save it for, Cyberpunk. It's coming out here in a month and 2 days, so maybe that. But guys, that is going to be it for this video. If you like this video, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure to tell your friends. And don't forget to leave a comment. Do you have an opinion on something? Leave it down there. Let us know. Maybe you know something I don't. Maybe I said something wrong. Tell me. Tell us all. We all should know. But that is going to be it. Y'all take care. And I'll catch you next time.